Hello APBIO. In this video, I'm going to talk about the products of meiosis. I am on page 8 in your notes. Page 8 in your notes. The interesting thing about meiosis is it has a significant amount of variability. Mitosis happens kind of one way, and in mitosis you have one parent cell becomes two identical daughter cells. But in meiosis, we have the production of the sex cells, and the production of the sex cells is not only different between species, but it's actually different between biological sex within the same species. So I'm going to talk about human meiosis, and I just want to show you by example how there can be a difference between what meiosis looks like in the biological males as opposed to biological females. We have a little bit of terminology to define right in the beginning. Spermatogenesis refers to the meiotic division of male germ cells. Let's write that down. It's meiotic division of male germ cells. They're also called germline cells. And that male germ cell is called a spermatogonium. It's a double division, which we've been talking about, and that's what produces the gametes. In males in particular, biological males, that produces mature sperm. So if we then change the conversation to biological females, the meiosis in biological females is called oogenesis. And oogenesis is the production of the female gamete, which is called the ova, which is often called the egg. But the correct scientific term for the egg is the ova, which is plural. Ovum is singular. So let's write that down. It's the meiotic division of female germ cell. The female germ cell is called the oogonium, which matures into the oocyte. That results, or that we should say that produces ova, which is plural for ovum. Okay, let's look at this diagram. I've got spermatogenesis on the left, and we've got oogenesis on the right. It looks like oogenesis, but it's pronounced oogenesis. Let's make a note at the top to emphasize that when we talk about mitosis, it happens in all somatic cells. But in meiosis, we're talking about a special type of division that only happens in the sex cells, in the sex organs. So in spermatogenesis, this occurs in the testes, and in oogenesis, this occurs in the ovaries. And again, just to clarify, I'm going to be talking about human spermatogenesis and human oogenesis. The process begins with germline cells or germ cells. And that's what I've got shown both on the left here and on the right. And you can see that a germline cell from this diagram is going to be 2N. Both of these are 2N. All of them are 2N. We can even write it inside the cell here. 2N, 2N. You can see there's 2 blue chromosomes and 2 red chromosomes. More specifically, on the male side, biological male, this is called spermatogonium. And on the female side, this is called an oogonium. But you don't necessarily need to know specifically what the germline cells are called. You just need to know that those are germline cells. So they're specialized cells that are going to go through the process of meiosis. Now, this diagram has been simplified or summarized, I guess you should say. And so the individual steps of dividing the genetic material and the nuclei aren't shown. All we've shown are sort of the major steps. So let's see if we can go through what's happening. If you can see in this second stage right here, you can see that the chromosomes have been replicated here. And replicated chromosomes, by now you should know that that occurs during the S phase of interphase. So this would be interphase of a germline cell, and it doesn't look any different than interphase of other cells. This is specifically as S phase when the genetic material is replicated. Now here's the first stage right here, the first division. And the first division is meiosis 1. Now I'm just going to go over and talk only about sperm, the production of sperm first, spermatogenesis, and then I'll go over and talk about what happens in the female gamete separately. During meiosis 1, remember that we have PPMAT happening. So PPMAT prophase 1, prometaphase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1, and cytokinesis 1 are going to happen. And it results in this right here. We have production of 2 cells after meiosis 1, and that these cells are haploid. So here we have these cells are N, and they have a specific name. I'm not even going to tell you what it is because you're not responsible for knowing it. And then here, in this stage right here, this is meiosis 2 happening here. So we have meiosis 2, and remember that in meiosis 2, we again have PPMAT. PPMAT, but we designate it with a Roman numeral 2 just to differentiate. Now we have this, we have in meiosis 1, we have a reduction division. This is a reduction in chromosome number. But in meiosis 2, we have an equal. So we don't change the chromosome number at all. So this right here, we started with 2N, and then we went down to 1N. This stays at 1N. So we have PPMAT happening, and we have replicated chromosomes here, but it's haploid cells, and then you have that produces 4 genetically unique haploid cells, because we had here during during prophase 1 we had crossing over, and during metaphase, anaphase we had independent assortment, and so we get 4 genetically unique mature sperm. But the thing that does happen that's different is there's this maturation process right here, shown where these arrows are, and the cells lose most of their cytoplasm, and they develop this tail, flagella, so that they can swim. And so these are 4 mature sperm. And mature sperm are 1N, they're haploid. And each of the mature sperm is going to be genetically unique. And just like I said just a second ago, they're going to be genetically unique due to during prophase, crossing over, and then here during metaphase, independent assortment. And there we have, or independent orientation, you could call it. And that's the production of mature sperm. What I want to do now is talk about what happens in the ovaries. I want to talk about oogenesis. And oogenesis starts out with an oogonium, which is, analogous to in the germline cell in biological males is the spermatogonium. And that is going to, through a series of interesting cell divisions, very atypical cell divisions, it's going to become a mature ova, or ovum is the singular. And I want you to see if you can summarize. I want you to watch the Khan video that's linked to the class presentation. And I want to see if you can summarize it down here where it says fascinating. The female gamete is one of the longest lived cells in the body. And you could probably summarize the process into 5 steps. And if we were to think about what each one, or stages, each one of those steps, it starts out as an oogonia, and it ends up as an ova, and that ova is going to fuse with a sperm. So it ends up really at the end as a zygote when it fuses with the sperm. So let's see if you can figure out how to sort of summarize the process of division, keeping in mind that what happens at the end is the process of fertilization after meiosis. So what that means is that the mature gametes at the end, if we put these together at the end right here, one of these sperm is going to combine with this egg right here in the process of fertilization. And that's going to produce a zygote. That's what this is right here, produces a zygote. And that zygote is going to be 2N. And the reason that I put that there is because the process of meiosis in the oogonium, or one of the process, is that the process of meiosis actually completes when the sperm fertilizes the egg. So this, we'll even write that here now, completes meiosis 2 only with the advent of fertilization. Okay, so you can stop this video now, of course, the video's over, and see if you can go over to the Khan Academy video and see if you can listen and try to summarize the meiosis in biological females in humans, oogenesis.